Well, with me now is the Ukip leader, Nigel Farage. Well, let's deal with your sharia lawman first, Dean Perks. You're standing by him, are you?
Yeah, I mean, what did he say? He said that in countries where they threaten to cut your hands off, fewer people go out and steal because there is a deterrent. I mean,
he said sharia law works as a prevention.
Well, you know, maybe it does in some countries, but it doesn't mean he was advocating it for this country. It was an off-the-cuff comment, not particularly wise, but hardly, you know, an offence for which I'm going to discipline him.
He also reportedly called Enoch Powell visionary and called someone retarded on Twitter. He's still an outstanding
Well, you know,
candidate,
half the country would call Enoch Powell visionary, wouldn't they? And the other half would vehemently disagree. And he called somebody retarded. Look, you know, we are entering...
That doesn't matter, does it?
Is it any wonder? Is it any wonder that we have three parties in this country who look the same, sound the same, and have no opinions, if every time someone uses a word that perhaps they ought not to, the media jump down their throat? Now, let me be clear. You know, what I think I've done very successfully is to make sure that there is absolutely no room in UKIP at all for people who are extreme or for people who spout hatred, but that is not the same as saying we can't have people in UKIP who say things that perhaps the others don't.
Well, is that the case, though? Because if you look at your candidate in Ramsgate, Martin Heal, he's a former National Front member, has faced no sanctions by the party. Is it okay
you're
for
quite
former
right.
National Front members?
You're quite right. He was 22 years in the Conservative Party. He was an officer of the Conservative Party when he came to us. Now, if you're saying...
And an ex-National Front member.
The Conservative Party had him as a local ward chairman, and he was in their party for 22 years.
I'm asking you whether it's okay... But is it okay for you to have former National Front members in your party, as long as it's former and they're not current far-right members?
Well, we're the only party in British politics who actually forbid anybody who's ever even been a member of the BNP from joining UKIP, right? The Labour Party actually has serving councillors who were elected as BNP and have defected to them. So we're the toughest party on this of all the parties in British politics. In the case of a National Front, well, perhaps we have one or two people who 40 years ago were a member of it.
And that's okay. That's okay.
Well, it's okay for the Tory party, it's okay for the Labour Party, it's okay for the Lib Dems, and in very, very small doses, it's okay for us. But when it comes to anything since 1980, anybody who's ever been a member of any extreme party is not welcome.
But have you changed your tune on this? Because the founder of UKIP, Alan Sked, told the Liverpool anti-fascist site that you at one point wanted ex-National Front candidates to be UKIP candidates. You actively wanted them to be.
No, we had a situation where we actually allowed somebody who'd been a former National Front member in the form of Buster Mottram, the well-known tennis player at one point, to join the party, and that was a mistake. You know, that was a mistake. So actually now, the ban now actually does extend to anybody new joining the party who was even in the National Front. So we did allow a small number of people to join who had been part of the National Front, and in most cases that's been a mistake, so we won't even allow those people anymore.
Well, let's look at some of your other candidates. Alex Wood, for example, who apparently made a Nazi salute. Councillor Rob Fraser, who reportedly used a well-known racist phrase. Anna-Marie Crampton, who you saw in
So when Nick Clegg comes on here,
wait a minute.
Say to Nick Clegg, what about your councillor?
Let me finish this question. They were all suspended from the party. Yeah. Are any of those back in the party?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't run party discipline.
You should know, though, shouldn't you?
No, I lead the party. I don't micromanage every aspect of it. But I wonder, when Nick Clegg comes on, do you say, well, what about your councillor, Nick, who in April was sent to prison for planting bombs? I mean, this is the ridiculous thing, isn't it? We put forward, in those elections in May, 1,740 candidates, which for us was a Herculean task, much bigger than anything we've ever attempted before. Now, half a dozen of them have caused us embarrassment, and you quote every single one. But the fact is, you know, 99% of the people that stand for UKIP and want to get involved in UKIP are decent, ordinary, hard-working people keen to make a big difference in British politics. And all the media can all you can do is focus on a handful of people.
You think it's just a handful?
Well, we know it's a handful.
Right. You've done your checks now.
Huge amounts of money.
You had a minute ago, but you've done your checks now.
Huge amounts of money was spent going through those 1,740 people at the local elections,
so
a degree of scrutiny that no political party in Britain's local candidates have ever been put through.
So do you believe that David Cameron's campaign chief, Lynton Crosby, is raking muck on your councillors and candidates? Do you believe that?
Well, I think the point is they've lost the arguments. You know,
yeah, but do you believe that he's doing that? He denies it. Do you believe he's doing that?
It would not surprise me at all. You know, they've got him for all sorts of abuse. over the years. I have to say the story rings true. They're not going to debate Europe with us, or immigration with us, or grammar schools with us, or wind turbines with us. They know they've lost the argument, not just with us, but with their own voters and supporters. So what they've decided to do is to go for the player and not the ball. I'm not surprised at all.
Nigel Farage, thank you very much for joining me. Krish.